Sponsored by Paradigm Lost. Affordable gaming accessories with a twist.
The legend tells of three mystic crystals fated with lack of knowledge. Only the three mages, Professor Dex from Phoenix, D20 from Cleveland, and Lore from the Forgotten Realms, have the knowledge to replenish these crystals. This is the DM Toolbox, Tales from the Edge. Welcome back, one and all. This is the DM Toolbox, Tales from the Edge. I, D20, am followed by my co-host, Professor Dex and Lore. Say hello to the people.
Howdy, howdy. What's up?
You know, the first thing we need to do, we need a name for our fans.
Yeah.
We need a name for our fans.
Yeah, you know, like
What's up to all our rollers, or like, you know, our character sheet. We used to call them character sheets.
No, wait. That'll be for the player podcast. What about the DM?
Oh, okay.
The gods, the pantheon.
That's too big.
I know.
That's too big.
Yeah. Man. Well,
all right, we'll come back to this. But we need. I still think, in general, everyone should be character sheets.
You know what?
Because everyone knows what a character sheet is.
Let's let them decide.
Oh, they gonna contact us?
Yeah, well, leave a comment.
How do they do that?
Well, you know, it depends on what platform they're going to be doing, but if I load it up on my website, ParadigmLostStore.com.
All right.
Shameless plug. I can put a comment section below it.
Paradigm Lost? That sounds familiar. Do you know what that place is, Lord?
It's the place I work at, where I make dice.
Isn't that our sponsor for our podcast?
A sponsor, yeah.
Oh, maybe there should be information for them.
Indeed. Are you feeling dread in your basement at night? I'm sorry.
This is the worst plan ever!
I'm sorry. Okay, points if you know where that's from, by the way.
This is why today's episode is called the dark side of DMing.
Yep.
I mean, seriously, all jokes aside, that whole skit was ad-lib, but seriously though, Okay. All right. I'm cool. All right. I'm cool. Professor, what are we talking about when we're talking about the dark side of DMing?
All right. Well, it does sound like a little bit of a Star Wars plug, but there is some truth to it. There is some problems with. There are a lot of problems with DMing. It's not always fun in games. There are some,
with or in.
With. So when you are DMing, there's going to be problems, and we're going to talk about those in later episodes. But when it comes to role-playing games, the dark side, you know, I've seen it a lot. I've seen it. There's all kind of different ways that it manifests. You know, there's kick the puppy.
Damn.
Yeah, well, that's often referenced to DMs who like to make their players suffer. There's DMs who believe that their whole purpose is to foil their players, and in a sense, that's true. But when you're going out of your way to make the game not fun to foil your players, that's what kick the puppy is.
So we're getting at, when we say the dark side of DMing, we're not talking about the negatives of the job of a DM. We're talking about DM play styles that will be counterproductive to the game.
Yeah, it's basically about when you're a DM, you set up the environment. The environment is your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you set up a toxic environment, you're going to have a toxic game. Whatever environment you create is going to be reflected in how the game plays out, quite literally.
Lord, what's your piece?
Same with that if you create the environment. But coming from another place, you can also have a DM who doesn't listen to their players, especially when the players have issues and the players have come and talked to the DMs. This is me speaking from personal experience, where I would go talk to my DM about issues I'm having in the game, and they seem to acknowledge it, but then they just ignore it, and the problems just keep happening because they just they're catering towards other players and they just don't care.
Mm-hmm. So one thing I catch us doing is we're speaking in generals.
Yeah.
These people don't know what we're talking about. Our character sheets don't know what we're talking about. So feel free to speak in specifics. Like, what are some problems that you had that you addressed to your DM that that some of our players, some of our character sheets might need to speak to their DMs on, and just don't have the confidence, A, to talk to them, or B, have a constructive way to release their air quote fears.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, it was my character in this game I was playing was supposed to be, it was a party of 6 or 7 people that eventually dwindled down to like 5. But my character just didn't feel like he was involved in the world because they kept putting him in situations where the political stuff that they're talking about and all this other bullshit, he didn't care. Because where he was from was the jungles of the world. He doesn't care about the politics and the bullshit that's happening. He didn't want to be where they were. He wanted to go back home and see what was going on. And for half a year of playing this game, nothing progressed for my character. And I talked to the DM multiple times about it, and nothing happened. So
yeah, I can understand where you're coming from on that. You know, communication is honestly key. And in fact, I think the real root point, like if we could just zoom out a little bit on this topic, the kind of connecting factor here is being able to trust your DM. When you kind of fall to that dark side, you're losing the trust of your players. You always want that trust. In fact, one of the kind of dark sides that I see quite often is that when a DM over-traps a dungeon or kind of surprises their players too much, you don't have fun anymore because now your players are spending 2 hours inspecting the door because, oh, it might be trapped because we don't trust our DM anymore.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's actually, I'd like to point out the opposite side of that too. When you give your players everything, there's no challenge. You're just like, well, here's the Vorpal sword, you level 1.
Yeah.
You know, like that's actually a problem as well. You need a sense of accomplishment and a sense of growth. That's what kind of helps create a fun environment. Not just a fun story, not just, you know, a fun plot, but that environment. You want your players to come back every week.
Yeah.
Right? Or however you're scheduled. Remember we said in episode 1, winning, quote unquote, air quotes, in this game is when everyone walks away from the table having fun and wanting to come back for the next game.
Yeah. Like one experience that I had with the dark side of DMing as a player, we fought a monster, and the DM says, so do you want to loot the monster? What looting means is taking the equipment or spoils or gold from the monster you defeated, and now you own it. So we're told that the monster has this jewelry on it. So we're like, all right, we'll take the jewelry. He says it's worth X amount of dollars. All right, sweet, you're cursed. Like, what the fuck? I was like, yeah, you're cursed now because you took the jewelry. No, this was the first main battle of the campaign, right? Remember that. So we get rid of the jewelry. Next battle comes, you know, do you want to loot the body? No, we don't touch a single body for the next 5 battles. DM says, how come you're not like taking the money or taking weapons? Because everything's cursed. He was like, everything's not cursed. I was like, you told us in the first battle, the first time we looted the first person, it was cursed. Now we think everything's cursed, so we're not gonna touch it. Every time I receive something, I try to give it away because I wasn't trying to be cursed. You know what I'm saying? And then so that broke my trust with that DM. Another thing, and I've told people this story, it just annoys the crap out of me. NPC misuse. Okay. It was just 2-person campaign, right? So the DM says, oh, you guys have a third person with you, right? We're fighting. The NPC, yeah, he's landing a lot of the hits and everything. And, we're getting messed up and everything. Whatever. Come out victorious. All right. Everyone gets 1/3 experience. Wait, what? It's 2 of us. It should be 50-50. And he said, no. The NPC did most of the work. So he gets 1/3 of the experience. And I said, hold up. So because you decided we needed help, we're being punished by having experience subtracted from us? That's not cool.
No.
That's not cool.
No, that's not cool at all. That is actually poor planning on the GM's part. You shouldn't need to have a GMPC step in unless you messed up as the GM. Or something catastrophically bad happened, like your players made a catastrophically bad choice or a catastrophically bad roll. One of the episodes we're going to talk about later is GMPCs, and basically game master player characters. And the truth is there's a reason why they're not called PCs. They're called GMPCs for a reason. They're supposed to be a Deus Ex Machina, but as any writer can tell you, the more Deus Ex Machina that you use, it's not really good storytelling.
Explain what that means.
So Deus Ex Machina, it means the machine of God in Latin. And what that means is that basically, in short terms, you've written yourself in a corner and you need a miracle to save your characters. And so a good example of that is, you're trying to disarm a bomb, right? You're disarming a bomb and your players just rolled a critical fail and the day is lost. Everyone's going to die. It's a nuclear bomb. It goes off. Everybody's dead. Game's over. Okay, but you just spent the last 6 months preparing this game and you were really excited for it, and now an off-roll chance has ruined everything. Now, should you have let it come to that point? Probably not, but sometimes it happens. And so sometimes you have to use your Deus Ex Machina. A meteor falls from the sky and, just cuts the right wire at the right time. Yeah, I know you've seen that in movies and TV shows. Yeah. That's a Deus Ex Machina.
I have to admit, nowhere near as cheesy. I've done that before. There was a time I had a group of 5 and they were fighting this monster. 2 of them dropped. Okay, and they dropped in this shallow lake, and I was like, I don't want my players to die. Oh, the lake was holy water. Roll 1d8. That's how much hit points you got back. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've used it, but it didn't break the game. It wasn't like, the Eagles came and you automatically get to Mordor. You know what I'm saying?
But actually, no, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That is a Deus Ex Machina. At the end of LOTOR, Lord of the Rings, when the Eagles come, that's a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Because it just kind of comes out of nowhere. It's just like...
It's like, oh, okay, they're safe now. They were going to die. Wait, what? How did that happen?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
How did that happen?
But the reason why you don't want to use it too often is because when that does happen, it does kind of break your sense of
being taken serious.
Yeah, like, you know, it kind of breaks that reality a little bit because it's so obviously that would never happen.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of takes you out of the game. And so you don't want to use that too often, but honestly, your players are going to forgive you if it means that they get to come to the game next week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, there's like 3 stages of players. And what I mean by this, when it comes to player death, you know what I'm saying? You have your newbies. You know what I'm saying? They're very attached to their characters. They don't want to see their character die because they feel that means I can't come back next week. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with a newer DM. I don't want to kill your play. I was petrified about killing a player. You know what I'm saying? But when I killed my first character and they were okay with it, I'm like, huh, that's all it took. Then there's level 2. And that is, like, I'm not lying, I have 1,165 characters on my D&D Beyond. Okay? Mm-hmm. My character dies, I got another one. Okay? I got another one. And with those DMs that, like, they don't pull their punches.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Then there's level 3. My least favorite level. The God level. The min-max level.
Oh,
the people that need to have the plus 66 bastard sword and to be able to polymorph into a Tyrannosaurus Rex with wings. Real thing, mind you. I am not making that up. It was at my table at the place.
The place that shall not be named.
And it's just like, that makes it not fun. You know what I'm saying? When my characters homebrew an item, the character homebrewing a bow and arrow that shoots 3 arrows simultaneously, doing minimum 40 damage. Seriously? You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that's the, yes, at the place. I told, oh, PTSD. D&D PTSD.
Oh,
but
man.
like,
I'm just sitting there going, how do they even get... Whoa.
I don't know.
They were
but
so
like,
low leveled. How?
That's like my version of the dark side of the ring. The ring. Woo! Different show. Sorry.
Right.
Dark side of podcasting is when you're... I don't want to say when you're presented with bullshit, but when you're presented with bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean, can I light my arrow on fire? You know what I'm saying?
No, you know it when you smell it.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's not, hey, can I cast barkskin and then turn into an animal? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is, well, Wendy received a +1 short sword, so I should receive a +2 long sword, right? Like, no. No, you shouldn't. No. Why? Why is it you need more than the last person? You know? That's not fair to me as a DM. That every day has to be Halloween. It's not fair to my players at the table. Because you're going to turn into a that guy. And no one wants a that guy at their table.
And that's exactly what we were talking about before, touching on that that dark side of DMing where you're just giving away everything. It's Halloween. And honestly, you set up a precedent. Mm-hmm. And you will never live that down. The minute you don't give out candy, you're the jerk.
Right.
You know?
Oh, we didn't receive candy today.
That was me, but that wasn't because I wasn't the one giving out everything and then just stopped it. Everyone else is doing it. I'm like, you don't deserve it. You didn't.
Elaborate.
You didn't. The characters were like, oh, we walked into a town and talked to some people. I want all the +3 armor that you have. I'm like, you didn't do anything to deserve getting anything like that. I want to roll for treasure. You didn't do anything to get treasure from. You talked to a couple people. You went to the tavern. Cool. you didn't find a cave full of bullshit. You found nothing. You did nothing in a 4-hour session. You get nothing. And then they all get butthurt about it. I'm like, sorry, but
you
that's
lose.
Yeah.
You get nothing. So
Good day, players.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, at the place, people were abusing the treasure dice.
Oh, absolutely. And so, you know, sponsored by Paradigm Lost, plot dice. We have these treasure dice, and they allow a DM to kind of randomize loot. That's the point of them, is to ease the DM's kind of stress.
Yeah.
Like, man, I don't want to have to come up with like a bunch of ideas on what kind of magic items they're going to get, on and on and on and on and on. But so what these dice do is they randomize gold or they randomize treasure items, but there's a risk to it because you might get a cursed item or you might lose gold.
And the nice thing about it too is some players get annoyed when one player gets the one magic item and they don't get one. This just gives them a chance of earning one.
Yep.
Or finding one.
You know what I do in that situation? I either have a magic item for everyone, or I say everyone finds the boomerang. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's up to the party to get. Because I've been in campaigns where person A, oh, I'm looking above the stairs. Oh, there's a treasure chest with 300 gold and a glowing sword. I take them and not tell the rest of my party. Well, and it's like, hold on. And then it's like, okay, well, me as a player, no, you just did that. Mm-hmm. You know, my character knows nothing of it. That's shitty.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And again, I'm talking about the players, not the DM. I'm sorry for derailing, but like that's something that infuriates me. So when you give magical items, either have one for everyone, or session 1 give one to Cindy, session 2 give one to Marsha, session 3 give one to Bobby. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's not derailing though. The reason why is because we're talking about curating an environment.
Yeah.
If you curate your environment to be a loot fest, that's what it's going to be.
We've said the word environment about 400 times during this episode, and we have not defined it.
Okay.
Define to them what environment means.
Okay. There's actually a lot of aspects to environment. There's
Correct.
the physical aspect. There is something that I like to call mood. And then there's also something culture.
Correct.
So at least those 3 things are going to be involved in your environment. You have your physical part. That's lighting, music, a lot of kind of physical stimuli that can kind of help set the mood. But it's really like coins. Like, oh, I want to have physical coins for my economy. Miniatures, your map, all of that. All right, that's part of your environment.
Correct.
And because you don't need a map, you don't need miniatures, you don't need coins.
And that's called theater of the mind.
Exactly.
And that's when you're on a beach and a fucking coconut falls out from one of the trees right beside you. You look up and you see a phoenix. You know what I'm saying? So you're painting the picture, you know. What you said part 2 was?
Well, so that all kind of adds to the engagement, and your players may not need that for engagement. Accessories are great. That's why I have a business in it. But there's more to it than that. There's mood. You know, Japanese mangaka artists, they talk about mood and how American comic book artists can really set mood in their comics. They're very, at least at a time, they were very jealous of being able to set that mood. Mood is kind of like the feeling of your game. So if you have a horror game, it's going to be scary. You need to set a dark, scary mood that is, going to be reflective of the game you're trying to play.
Yeah.
And that is going to be done mostly by you, but it can also be done by your players. So if you've got some...
will.
So let's say you got some goofy player that always got to crack jokes all the time. You need to keep that in mind when you're setting up your mood. You need to make, like, so you've seen, I'm sure many of our character sheets have seen horror movies before.
Mm-hmm.
There's comedy in horror movies.
Right.
Right? So try to incorporate, if you've got a player that does that, incorporate that into your mood.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't ruin your mood. Because a joke at the wrong time, or, you know, just sometimes jokes can really just ruin the mood. I think we can all agree with that.
Agreed.
If you're not taking the game seriously. But so let's move into the last one, which was physical environment, mood,
culture.
Thank
you.
Culture.
I was like character. No.
Laura, how about you take culture?
Culture? I don't know what you mean by culture.
I think you do. I think you just experienced at the place that shall not be named a perfect example of culture. Terrible culture.
Yeah. So talking about the culture of the players in the environment that you're in, depending on if you're playing at home in a private game or in a local game store with a bunch of other people there and it's really loud and noisy and
has terrible mood.
Yeah. Because you can't set a mood because all you hear is people yammering about stuff and people playing the card game. The card game.
That shall not be named.
Let it die. Just let it die. It's a scam. It's a pyramid scheme. Do it.
Yeah, because you're not able to set the mood. Actually, I was getting to the point where I'm just like, I don't care. I really don't care about trying to set a mood. Because most of my players didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
They were there to smash and grab and get all the loot and be like, I'm the best! I'm like, cool, but I want to tell a story.
Yeah. And that's a terrible culture that, you know, as DMs, we are responsible for. But when it comes to kind of a public setting like that, honestly, it can be a combination of factors such as what you were saying, the store itself, where it's the mood of what is going on and with other customers, with the environment itself. I mean, again, we're talking about environment.
With the agency that as DMs we were not given, because it was supposed to be a store-wide thing and we weren't as DMs given the agency that we needed to be able to control our games, to make them fun and to make everything kind of mesh together in a way that we could bring everyone together at the end of a season and do something big.
Have you ever noticed, guys, that culture sounds a lot like cultivate?
No.
There's a reason why. They're similar root words in the etymology. But basically, a culture is cultivated. A culture, whether it's of fungus and bacteria or people, it has to be taken care of. And if you don't cultivate it correctly, you will end up with runaway cultures that are toxic, and an environment that is toxic.
I'm smiling right now, and I'm purposely not saying anything.
I'm Professor Dex, and I have to give a lecture on everything because I'm so smart.
But like another thing, like when we were talking about the three things, like with like environment, it's also like the environment in your game. You know what I'm saying? That's also the culture in your game. You know what I'm saying? Because, for example, you know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
Humans, you know what I'm saying, don't like half-elves. You know what I'm saying? Just like, oh, you're part elf. Get away from me. Elves
don't like half-elves.
Don't like half-elves. Like, oh, you're part human. You need to get away from me. And then half-elves are just like, I'm just trying to make my way in the world. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, that dichotomy is interesting to me. You know? But that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like in my worlds, like racism really isn't a thing except for that example, because that's the only one I understand. You know what I'm saying? It's just like gnomes and halflings probably live in the same plain forest area. You know what I'm saying? Next to the woods of the elves, which are being lumbered by the humans, which is next to the mountains of the dwarves. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's a community. Like I can't comprehend only one culture being in one area. I mean, you play Final Fantasy, you play Legend of Zelda, you play Mega Man, you play, Chrono Trigger. All these different monsters, all these different beings are in all these different areas. You know what I'm saying? So why can't different peoples? You know what I'm saying? And it's just like what you're saying. When you're in a horror for your environment, when you're in a horror campaign, you know what I'm saying? It's like, something bursts and start hissing and you jump, you know what I'm saying? It's like you could be funny about it because, for example, I was playing Savage Worlds, and it was like Buffy the Vampire Slayer in college, okay? And we were all sharing this lucid dream. And the DM says you find yourself in an 1800s mansion, and we're in Texas. I'm the only one that put two and together and said, we're in a fucking plantation. What the hell? No one else put two and two together. And I think he used my reaction as actual canon. You know what I'm saying? Because he didn't think of it that way. I'm like, we're in Texas, 1800s. I mean, we all know who these ghosts are. And it's you know what I'm saying? So you can add comedy the right way. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like one thing the last thing I want to say about the dark side of DMing is knowing people's play style. Yeah. Like me, I'm as you can tell, very excited, very excitable. You know what I'm saying? I get into the roles. You know what I'm saying? I'm as excited if I roll a 2 as if I roll a 22. You know what I'm saying? I want to hear what my players have to say and just totally engrossed in it. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of DM I am. I want you guys to be engaged in it. I want you to be part of my story. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And a rule that I say my world is going to revolve around the world. No matter if you're a chef, if you're a wood carpenter, or if you're a fucking paladin. My world is still going to orbit around the sun. It's not going to orbit around you. You know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't make sense to me that I have 5 characters and one of them's the central character. That's weird. That's weird to me, But then I'll be at other tables and there's no soul. There's no soul. They're reading from a book. And this is my problem with published campaigns. The Yeti goes up to the player and asks, turn page, him if he wants a popsicle or to die. Roll in